Take your team to new heights with training you can trust from CBTC. Unlock your team's potential with affordable seminars and customized training in topics like leadership, safety, manufacturing, transportation, and technology. CBTC is more than a provider. We are your partner for talent upskilling, licensure renewal, recertification, and much more. Discover the impacts that come with our training, from heightened productivity to enhanced teamwork and a commitment to a safer workplace. Visit cbtc.edu/workforce solutions to get started today.
Hello and welcome to the latest edition of Beyond the Stage, the Pablo Center podcast. My name is Kathy Wright and I'm the Director of Talent and Booking here at the Pablo Center in fabulous downtown Eau Claire. And today's guest, I'm so excited to talk to and learn more about their role in our community. So I'd like to welcome Andrew Salvaterra, who is the board president of the Eau Claire Children's Theater. Welcome, Andrew.
Thank you so much, Kathy, for having me on. Long-time listener, first-time guest. So really excited to be here.
Awesome. I keep laughing because we're doing this podcast over Zoom. And the last time I saw you was when you were cast in How the Grinch Stole Christmas in December. And you had all of these little red bows glued into your beard. And it's just really something I can't unsee.
The things we do for the theater, right? The things we do for art.
I love it. I love it. So Andrew, take a few minutes and tell me a little bit about ECCT, your role with them, and anything you want to share just to get those that aren't familiar with the organization up to speed.
Absolutely. So the Eau Claire Children's Theater is in its 37th season, and it was founded by our still current executive director, Wayne Merrick, as an opportunity that he saw existing in the community, especially for younger actors and performers, to have the chance to get on stage, to work backstage, and to have opportunities in the arts. And so what started out as a single show then grew to 5, then grew to 10, then grew to 15. And I'm really pleased to say that for our 37th season, that we are up to 19 shows this year, plus a variety of special events and school programming for elementary and middle school age students over the summer. It is an organization that serves not just the Eau Claire community, but serves communities all throughout Western Wisconsin through opportunities, not just for performers, but one of the things that I am most proud of that we do as an organization is bringing in school kids from around the area to our shows at a reduced ticket rate for field trips, and giving them the opportunity, some of them for the first chance to ever see a live theatrical performance in their lives, and potentially inspire a lifelong love, as I had the opportunity to do when I was a kid and really started a lifelong journey through theater and having it be one of the core foundations of life. So really proud of the organization and just a very, very filled with gratitude to be a part of it.
Yeah, we are sitting here recording this on what I'm going to call Annie Eve. Because the Children's Theater is actually going to open their production of Annie here at Pablo Center tomorrow. And so, when you talk about children, it is one of our favorite days because ECCT brings so many school groups. I think we have 17 buses that are coming tomorrow of youth into our theater. Many of them have never seen live performance before. And many of them have no idea even what to do when they walk into a theater. And I think something that is so cool is a few months ago, I was standing in the lobby and this family was coming into one of our shows and the child was like, "Mom, this is where we go." Because they had been here on a school trip to see an ECCT production. So this is an entire family that had never been before, but the child was actually leading mom and dad through what it's like and what you do when you get to the theater, which I think was just, that made my heart so happy. I love that we're exposing kids to theater really, really, really early on.
And to get to talk to a younger performer or a family member who had that exact same experience and they enjoyed being in the theater and seeing the show so much. And then they came out to the next set of auditions, and then they were the ones that got to be on the stage that helped inspire that next set of kids. What better community place can you ask for than something that gives that kind of opportunity?
It's awesome. It's awesome. So we use like ECCT and Eau Claire Children's Theater kind of interchangeable. And really you guys have, you're not a children's theater in a sense that we only produce productions with children, right? Tell me a little bit about the metamorphosis to really that ECCT brand and embracing people in theater of all ages. Tell me kind of how that balances out for you guys.
Yes, and that's a conversation that we have frequently because if people look at our season brochures or look at any of our marketing materials, we do not have kids out there doing Evil Dead. That wouldn't be appropriate. So I need people to know that it's not exclusively children anymore, but really over the course of the time that the organization has been in existence, Wayne and the founding members continue to find opportunities for more artistic placements. And so, as I said earlier, the shows continue to grow in number and in scope. And so now we have shows with only kid actors like Alice in Wonderland coming up in the spring, which is a junior show. So it's all 18 and under performers and really giving them a chance to steal the stage and be in all of the large main featured roles and really show out their talents. And then we also have a good variety of shows that have just adults in it, that are for just adults or just for families. And then a good mixture of shows that have younger cast members all the way up through seasoned performers who are maybe in their 20th or 30th year of performing. And so whether you are on the younger spectrum of a performer or an older spectrum of a performer, whether you've done a lot of shows before or this is your first chance, there are opportunities to be on stage for anyone. And that also means that we're able to bring opportunities to the community to come see a show for every single thing that you could possibly be interested in.
I think it's fascinating. I have a dear friend of mine, and as she was transitioning into her empty nest time of her life, she tried out and was cast in an ECCT performance. And she said, I'm trying to figure out what I do with all this time now that I'm not chasing kids around and going to basketball games and all those things. And she realized, at 50 years old, that she fell in love with theater and performance, and that's really become something that she's leaned into in retirement or in that next phase of her life. Because what do you do when the kids leave and there's this whole room of individuals that maybe are being cast in performances or decide that they love costuming or woodworking or set design, because you do all of that for your shows.
Absolutely. And so a couple of different points. It is one of my favorite parts of being involved in that community to hear the full spectrum of, I got on stage for the first time when I was 5 years old and I've literally never left it my entire life. Or I have never been in a show before and I'm sort of scared to death of this, but also it's on my bucket list and I really want to try it to just see what the experience is like. Or a lot of people, similar to your story, Kathy, where they did it in high school or they tried it before and then life happened and they were too busy and the commitment was too heavy. But now that they have a little bit more time for themselves, they're able to jump back in and re-engage that spark and find that joy that they used to find in something that they truly loved. And also to the other point that you made, it really is, it's not just what happens on stage. It is fully volunteer driven, from the people who run the box office and do the ushering to the people who help build the sets and help build the costuming, do the lighting and do the sound, the people who are backstage during shows that have 40 kids in them that are helping to maintain some semblance of anything but chaos back there. And it really is just this beautiful community of other people who have full-time jobs or go to school full-time coming together in the evenings because they really believe that the more art that a community has, the better the community is.
I love everything about it, and I love that really it's finding a home within the arts. And we always think about, I talk a lot about on the podcast, I wasn't meant to be on stage, but I certainly love being a part of what goes on stage. So the Lord did not bless me with a beautiful singing voice, but man, I love being a part of what puts things on stage. And I think that's what's so cool about ECCT is, I had a niece that was an introverted introvert, and she loved to be the stage manager. Don't ever get her anywhere near a spotlight, man. But if she could engineer that show from backstage, that was her space. And she just found that she had a place in performance. It just had to be in the back. And I think people forget about that. When they think about everything that happens in a theater, from, like you said, the usher to the box office to the carpenter to the costumer to the makeup artist. All of those people have such a huge role. And with ECCT, you still organically do all of those things. So if you want to get involved in any sort of theater or just join an organization that's pretty darn cool, there's opportunities for all kinds of kinds.
And that's really our pitch to people, is that if you have a talent or an interest, there is absolutely a spot for you within our community. And we are so reliant on our community members stepping up to continue to be as successful as the organization has been over its history, that we are always looking for new people, because that's what brings the energy and that's what brings the lifeblood to the organization.
And you guys, so let's talk about the organization, because you are a nonprofit organization. You do have some staff, but for the most part, you are volunteer driven. Is that fair to say?
That is completely fair to say. So we have 6 staff members who are the absolute best people in the world, because the amount of work that they do is something that is hard to believe. And the amount of shows that they work on and the quality that they provide show in and show out is tremendous. And we are so incredibly grateful to have them. But along with those paid staff members, we are super volunteer driven, and everything that we are able to accomplish is because of the goodwill of people in our community coming out and making sure that we continue to bring really high quality productions to our community.
And really, I mean, you need people to help with accounting, you need people to help with marketing, you need people. So even if you're like, I don't know how to stage manager, I'm not a carpenter, it doesn't matter. Like, you can help in the box office. And so I guess I keep going back to there's really a place for everyone. If you wanted to be a part of ECCT, in any way, there's space for you.
Absolutely. And one of my favorite stories is one of our longtime board members is specifically not a performer and is just an excellent volunteer who helped with everything else, that wasn't just being on stage, but was willing to do anything else that you helped ask her to do. And when you season plan and come up with the shows that are going to go into each year's schedule with someone like that, there is at least one person in the room who is not solely selecting shows just because they want to be in them. And so it's a
Oh, that's funny. Oh, I love it. Anyway, sorry, my laughter interrupted, but that's so true, especially in the arts.
yes. All of us who do the majority of our giving on stage are very intentional about the show titles that we're bringing forward.
So tell, like, that's a whole, I mean, I think that's something that I've learned over the last year and a half as well, is really that there's what are we going to be able to find cast members for, right? We're not a super diverse community, so a play that requires a very diverse cast can be sometimes difficult. But there's performance rights and there's costs involved, and how expensive is the set? Can you talk to me a little bit about what goes into the cultivation of your season?
Absolutely. So we start out with a season survey that goes out not to just performers and to community members who have been in our audiences, but also to local educators as well. And so we try to build out through 3 facets. We have the shows that the performers want to be in, the shows that the audiences are hungry for and are interested in coming out to see, and then the shows that a field trip could come to that would be closely related to something that a school curriculum is working on. And then from there, we start to build out. But to your point, if we have the rights become available next year to Hamilton, it still doesn't mean that it's the right thing for us to do, because culturally, we just don't have the people to do it within the same intention that it was intended to be done. And so then we look at the mixture of who we have in active performer pools, and we kind of go from there. And we try and work on, we'll have some classic pieces for people who enjoy musicals or plays that are in a little bit of the older side of the spectrum, some newer titles that were just released that we have the people to do correctly and to do at a high quality, and then also some popular book titles or some education focused shows as well. And that's how we land on the season. And the last few seasons, I'm really proud of the work that our board has done to put our seasons together, because I think that they've ended up being a nice mixture of a lot of different types of theater for a lot of different types of audiences and performers.
It's always interesting to me when I see the season come together for you, and just looking at, obviously we talked about it's Annie Eve, but you're doing things like Disney's Frozen is coming up, and then that same week you'll be performing Jesus Christ Superstar, and there is such this really interesting blend of, it's kind of like when we put our seasons here together, right? We want to make sure that we serve all different likes and passions within people. We don't have to worry about casting, but we do have to worry about getting people in the theater to see the show, and what our community wants is always a question too. We've brought in shows, and I know ECCT does too, where you just did Grinch, How the Grinch Stole Christmas this year, and we thought, yeah, that's kind of cool, and essentially every show was sold out. And I think we all looked at each other and we thought it would be good, but holy cow. And so now we think, well, there's a hunger for that type of programming that a whole family can come to, because tickets for ECCT are very affordable. We have Broadway productions here, and tickets, are not $25 for those shows. But if, grandma and grandpa wanted to bring all the grandkids to a show, Grinch was a really great option for them.
And really, we really do try and price them with the understanding that, well, some people are buying a single ticket, lots of people are buying 2 or 4 or 6 tickets, and we really do want the whole family to be able to come out to the theater. We don't want families sitting at home trying to figure out who their favorite kid is and who gets to go to the show that day. We want everybody to come. And so we are really always hopeful that with the pricing model that we use, and our work to keep things affordable, and then the quality of the shows that we're able to put on, that we can win some loyalty within theater goers in the community and encourage them to keep coming back and keep giving us a chance.
Yeah, I know. I think we talk about around here a lot. You hear us talk about our why, and everybody has that moment in time that they fell in love with something within the arts. I mean, it might be you're a big fan of Five Finger Death Punch, or, you love classical theater or the ballet, but everybody has that moment. And, our executive director, Monica, speaks about hers with the LA Philharmonic, growing up, in Los Angeles and not being able to do something like that, but it was a school field trip. And, I certainly have my moments that led me to love the arts, but I took my son to your production years ago. As a matter of fact, I think it was still at the old State Theater, of Suzuko the Musical. And that became a soundtrack we downloaded, we sang together. And to this day, he works at Pablo Center now, and we still talk about, Mom, remember when we saw Seuss? And we'll quote it every once in a while. And that was a moment for him that he was like, wow, this is incredible, and fell in love with theater. So I love that all of that happens here, and we just love being a part of all of it. And it's cool. I want to tell the story because I was just looking at your season brochure, and you guys did the Rocky Horror Picture Show on Halloween this year. And one of my favorite stories is the Book of Mormon cast had a day off on Halloween. And the night before, they were out for dinner, and their waitress at the restaurant was one of the leads in your production of Rocky Horror the next day. And she was telling them that, and half the cast of the Broadway production of the Book of Mormon showed up to see her perform in Rocky Horror Picture Show. I can't imagine how nervous she was. But that does really show kind of that scope. I mean, you went from Rocky Horror to Your Good Man, Charlie Brown. So there's a little something for everyone.
And I think that really says a lot about the kind of community that arts organizations exist in, where these paid professional actors who have very little time off and are touring from city to city to city, doing show after show after show, would still take the time to come and see a local theater production just because they genuinely love it and they genuinely feel like supporting it is the right thing to do.
Yeah, that was a pretty cool story, and they were excited to go. They loved it. So you do a lot in the summer as well, and there's a lot of education and camps and things. Tell us about summer programming at ECCT.
Absolutely. So it's one of the things that I think really sets us apart as an organization. And so if you are a school age kid, especially in elementary and middle school, from the Eau Claire Area School District or Chippewa or Altoona or Elk Mound and a handful of other school districts, it is part of that summer catalog through the school district. And so you can come at a very reduced cost, or in some cases, even no cost, to either week-long classes or day-long classes that cover things like beginning acting, beginning vocal performance, how to do comedy, how to do drama, or we like to do things that the kids today, as I sound 100 years old, are interested in. And we do classes programmed around Legos or superheroes or princesses. And we really try to mix meeting kids, especially elementary and middle school kids, where they're at, both in the background and experience that they have, and giving them additional skills and teaching them additional abilities with things that they're interested in for content. And one of my favorite things is that 3 times over the summer, in 3 of the weeks of the summer programming, we have show in a week classes where they come in Monday morning, and then by Saturday morning, they are doing a full hour long or a little bit longer than an hour long production, having just worked on it during the day, during those 5 days. And those are always some of my favorite performances because the parents are genuinely in shock at how much progress and how much polish can be completed by those kids, and just kids on that stage, in only 5 days.
My son went through that program. We did it at school, except it wasn't a day camp. So we were just running lines at night. And I'm telling you, I prayed to sweet Jesus that he did not get a lead role, because I'm like, I'm not going to be able to help him with all these lines. But it was really fun. And it was so fun. It was in the elementary school. And I think what was so neat was seeing these kids find something inside of them that they didn't know they had. We had one student that was very, very quiet and kind of timid, and he absolutely stole the show. He was a scream. I mean, he was so funny, and the harder we laughed, the better he got.
Yeah.
And so watching him, even just over the course of the 2 performances that they did that day, but that moment changed him, and he realized, you know what, I am funny and witty, and people will respond. And so that was really a life-changing moment for him in like 4th grade. And I love seeing and watching all of that happen. It's awesome. So we talked about the bows in your beard, because it was how the Grinch stole Christmas, but it was also how the Salvaterra stole Christmas, because I think your whole family was in the production. Were you all the Who's down in Whoville?
just my son and I, but that has been one of my favorite pieces to the community that ECCT has offered my family, is that both of my kids and I have gotten the chance to both be in shows together, and then they have had the opportunity to be in shows themselves. And really starting out, like you had said, my daughter had thought about auditioning for a long time. And it was always the day of audition, she decided that it wasn't for her. But then a few years ago, when they did Seussical, she finally got up the nerve and went into auditions and had her first show. And since then has done 12 shows, and my son's on show 3 now. And so to see them grow and blossom, and to that exact point that you were just making, my son's last show, he had kind of a comic relief sort of character. And that first show that he got a big laugh from the audience, you could just see his eyes light up. And that feeling as a parent is the best.
That's incredible. And I can't imagine the swagger that he walked out of here with that night. And it probably changed him really. It was probably pivotal for him. And for you to be able to watch that happen real time. Obviously I can see you over Zoom, but I can see the tears in your eyes that, that was a moment for you and your family that you'll never, ever, ever forget. And, I think theater, anything can bring that out in kids, right? But just finding their moment and finding their place, whether it's the introvert who wants to be a stage manager, or the kid who's so good with his hands that just wants to build the set, or the artist that wants to paint the backdrop. It all comes together on stage, and I love that. And with ECCT, you do performances both at your theater, your in-house theater at the Oxford, and then here at Pablo Center, both in the Jamf Theater and the RCU. Tell me about that feeling and why it's so important for some of your productions to be on the RCU stage to a sold out crowd.
Yes, absolutely. So the Grinch being a great example of that. And like you said, Frozen coming up, and then Charlie and the Chocolate Factory this summer.
Can't wait for that one.
There is just something about, from a performer standpoint, being on a stage with 1,200 people fully engaged with you, hanging on every word or joke or song in this beautiful collective moment together that you all get to share in just this one moment in time together. It is a beautiful feeling for the performers on stage. And we've had so many good conversations with audience members at those sold out full house shows that said that was one of the best experiences I've ever had in a theater. And so to know that our organization is capable of bringing those kind of experiences to people when they give us an opportunity to perform for them, and the kind of art that we're capable of putting out when we work so hard on a show for 6 or 8 weeks, and then the audience is giving you that response, and it just creates this immensely wonderful moment.
Well, and I love the opportunity for our local production to share the same stage as a Broadway production. That's incredible. And that, I think, is the power of what this community was looking for when it came together to build the Pablo Center. And that was part of the vision and the dream, was for our community to experience really a first class facility to be able to perform in, and to be able to be a part of. And you have our production team that produces Broadway shows, or are helping you out on our ECCT productions. And so you get, you're not running around with duct tape and zip ties. This is truly a beautiful place. And again, it's such a wonderful gateway for a lot of people into seeing something a little bit greater, or maybe finding their love of theater, or finding their love of music, by bringing them through the doors for be it the symphony, our local theater groups, jazz orchestra. There's all kinds of things happening here. And these calendars in my office, and that are the year, and all the performances are on it, and every day is filled with something. And so there's always something going on, and there's always something available, and that makes me happy. So
the opportunity that exists in our community to have a facility like the Pablo Center, and for a local arts organization to get to be on a stage that size in front of audiences that size, it is never something that we take for granted. And getting to see first-time performers walk on that stage for the first time and look out into an audience that size, and just the first dress rehearsal when nobody's out there, just to see that many seats in front of you, and then to watch it fill up, and to watch them come off stage the first time after seeing an audience like that and performing on a stage like that, it is immense gratitude. And I know how lucky we are in this community to have that as a facility that we get to utilize.
Yep. And we love it. They're some of our favorite days because, again, we're running into our friends and neighbors backstage, dressed like a Who, or, we have one of our retired teachers from school is very involved in your theaters. And so to see my, like I said, my son Valet is here, and he's like, "Hey mom, Mr. Turek is here." I'm like, "I know," so it's so fun for kids to even come and see some of their teachers performing, and see them out of character, right? Or in character, out of character, to see them in a different light is pretty darn cool. So Andrew, I'm going to put you on the spot, and I'm going to ask you 2 questions. I want to know, first and foremost, what was the favorite show you've ever been in, and your favorite character you've ever played?
Sure. And I have a terrible answer because there are bits and pieces of all of them. It is so hard. It's like asking a musician to pick their favorite song that they've ever written, or an artist what their favorite painting is. I think it's just an inherently really difficult thing, because each show is meaningful, and each character is meaningful in such a different way. So you had talked about, and we had talked about bringing the school age kids in for the field trips. And so a couple of years ago, we got to do a show called Dragons Love Tacos. And it was me as the only adult human, and then four adults in life-size gigantic dragon costumes behind me. And I was the only one who had dialogue, and they just made dragon noises. But it was a comedy show. And so getting to hear 1,200 kids laughing at a joke or me falling down on stage is a rush that will never be replicated. It was the coolest, best feeling in the entire world. But then conversely,
the pinnacle of your career was being dressed like a taco. I love it.
Yeah, it was the best. But then you also look at something like, we had the opportunity to do the show Something Rotten a few years ago, and that coordinated with when the Shakespeare Festival was in the Jam Theater. And so we got to perform on a replica of the stage at the Globe Theater, and we got to do a show about Shakespeare that universally among the audience members was absolutely beloved because of the high quality of talent that we had. And everybody in every rehearsal in that cast was just pushing each other to be better every single day. And that is one of the shows that, from an artistic standpoint, I am most proud of where we got to by the end of that show, because it really did hold up in terms of high quality, not just community theater, but a high quality theater experience that had the audience asking if some of the performers or all of the performers were brought in specifically for that production.
Wow. That's incredible. I love it. I love it. So Andrew, if somebody's listening and they're like, I am in, how do I get involved with ECCT? What's the best place to start?
Absolutely. So we are in the Stone Age, and we love Facebook. And so if you love Facebook, you're going to find us really easily, because that's where we do a lot of our communication points. And so I would encourage people to follow Eau Claire Children's Theater on Facebook, but then you can also sign up. And we have an email list that gets sent out that has all of our audition and performance information. And it also has all of the information for our work nights, for costume building and set building, and all of our volunteer opportunities. And you can also just come over to the theater and stop in, especially if it's in the evening. There will always be someone around who's willing to give you a tour or talk about the organization and all of the different ways that you can get involved. And so you can email info@ECCT to get on the email list, or to let us know that you're going to stop by and that we can give you a tour. Really, however you feel like getting in touch with us, whether it's email or social media or just stopping by, we would be very glad to have you as part of the community.
Yeah. And if you head to ECCT.org, there's the full season is on there, and you can see shows here in our Jam Theater, some things that are upcoming. I can't wait. You're doing To Kill a Mockingbird this summer, which is one of my absolute favorite works of literature. You've got shows coming up at the Oxford, then of course shows coming up here that you had mentioned. In the Chocolate Factory this summer is one I can't wait to see. So great opportunities, even just to get a taste of ECCT and come see some of their performances. And Annie will be over by the time everyone is hearing this podcast, but break a leg to the entire ECCT cast for tomorrow night, and we'll see you on stage.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. It was wonderful to get a chance to talk today, and just really grateful. Thank you.
You bet.